yourself out there. And I think a more realistic median price would be 200,000 or maybe even 180. Because if we go too high on that number, what's going to happen is your units is going to be less and you're going to be working towards that unit. But if you end up having an average sales price yourself of say 250, then what's going to happen is if you do those units, you're not going to still reach your number. Does that make sense? I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but so my thing is I want to make sure our numbers are not fluffy, but realistic, so that you're not looking at it later and saying, boy, I really messed up on this, or, you know, why am I not doing this? Maybe I'm not cut out for the business. I don't want that. I want it to be realistic and achievable with a little stretch. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to get this PowerPoint going. Okay, so, and do you guys realize we only have a class on Wednesday and the next one on Monday, and then we're through this Ignite 100%? So I really truly feel it's been extremely successful. I hope you guys feel the same. I want you to know that we will continue with the weekly coaching classes, and I am actually working on some workshops with Walt on what we're going to do for July and August, just to keep you engaged on different subjects that are really relative, how to present a multiple offer, what DeCoya and HOA docs are required and how we view them for contracts to stay compliant, how to, what was the other thing? A seller's disclosure, and how to stay out of, you know, trouble with all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be more hands-on with that kind of information, so that we can still see each other on a regular basis. And I'm going to be rotating through the Maryland offices and the Delaware offices and teaching them, because I really want to get to meet all of you on a face-to-face basis. So with that being said, we are doing the same thing that we always do, starting with what successful agents do. And if you grew your business by doing your lead gen and your presentations and all that, and you're running your business, you get to a point where you actually have money to manage. So to start that, I've already talked a lot about the perspective, what we already were talking. So I just want to get this out here. Okay, are you seeing my screen with the habits of financially sound business? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
yes. We had a lot of head bobbings here.
Oh, and I have you guys hidden because it's taken up too much of my screen. Okay. So this goes for any business. Okay. This is teaching you how to run a financially sound business. Whether you are going to be a standalone agent your entire career, whether you are going to be an agent that has an admin that you bring on as you see that you want to leverage your time for the highest and best use of it, or whether at some point you come to me and say, Carol, you know what? I want to start a team. What do I do now? And I help you through and all the things on how to start a team and how to put systems in place for a team and how to choose agents for your team and how to make your team work. So this is the very base for whatever model you want to use for your real estate business. So one of them is setting a profit goal that funds your big life and pursue the activities to achieve it. So the thing is, and a lot of agents are guilty of this. If you ask an agent how much money they make, they will tell you they made $350,000 last year. And that will roll your eyes and you will be so excited and say, you want to make $350,000 next year. problem with that is what their 1099 shows. But out of that, they are paying so much that their actual profit ends up being less than 20% of that amount. So effectively, they are working for their employees that they have, or their admins, or the agents on their team. They are effectively working for them, as opposed to them their business being a profit center. So when you ask someone what's a realistic goal, your goal is one thing. My goal is always spend less, make less, spend less, and profit more. Because if I make less, that means I can work less. Okay? So I want to work smart so that, and I want to make sure that I retain as much of what I make and gross as possible. If you talk to accountants, some accountants will say if you have a 15 to 25% profit after meeting all your expenses, you're running a good business. I personally, I like to be seeing 35 to 40% profit after all expenses are met. So number two is another thing that agents, have a really hard thing. They are used to being employees, and as employees, they were used to taxes being taken out of their pay, and when they got their money, they put it in their checking account and they paid their bills and did whatever they wanted to do. As a company owner, you are an independent contractor, and you really truly need to have a plan. Estimate your taxes at the end of the year, save for them, and make sure you're making your estimated tax deposits. I can tell you let me rephrase, I can't tell you how many agents that I know on a personal level that have gotten into very, very bad connections with the IRS because of this. Because they were making very strong money. They were taking it and saying, oh, well, if I take this, I got this $20,000 commission check. If I take this, I could go use this and go buy a investment property and buy it with minimum amount down, or do this, that, or the other thing, and flip it and make another 30, 40,000. And all of a sudden, this becomes a real monopoly money kind of thing, as opposed to the reality. And they never plan for the taxes and the capital gains when you're flipping and all those things that happen. Okay. And I can tell you many of these agents end up getting out of the business because of the stress from the IRS, and because of they need a regular paycheck and they just can't work under that kind of stress level. Because I can tell you, stressed agents are not good agents. So if you have an accountant, I think we can sit down and do your business plan, but I think you may want to talk to him and say, this is where I'm at. What do you suggest that I do to prepare? What I do typically is I take 20% of every commission check and put that into a tax account that I have and make my quarterly deposits with that. If I overpay, that's great. At the end of the year, I get money back. If I underpay, it usually is not that much off, unless, and I know, like if I had a really good month where, we had one time where we had a commission check, the largest one ever was like $70,000. And I made sure I put extra in there because that was so much to cover that, whatever that would be at the end of the year. So I want to make sure that you guys understand about estimated tax deposits and things like that. You don't always have to have an accountant, but if you are not good with that and figuring that out, I always say to you to go get yourself an accountant. Using the proven models and systems of the MREA and the chart of accounts. Everybody knows what MREA is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to use if you look in there, there's a chart of accounts for your expenses. Okay. And you can use them as you see fit. Be fiscally savvy by reviewing your financials monthly. Do not let a month go by that you do not make sure that you know what's coming in on your business, what's going out on your business, and most importantly, what did you retain? Okay? Pay yourself a salary. Sit yourself down and say, okay, I need to, my business, my personal expenses are going to be X amount of dollars, and I need to be able to pay myself X amount of dollars on a monthly basis. Now, we all know that varies, but if you plan, you can usually make that happen and fit in. When you talk to your accountant, talk to him. Is it better if I'm an LLC and pay myself as a salary and have taxes taken out, which becomes a tax deduction for the LLC, and I'm not paying all of it under my personal account on a Schedule C at 15.3%. Everything's tax deductible off the LLC. So you would be paying part of it as an employee of the LLC at half of that, and then the LLC would pay the other half, and that would be deductible as an expense for the LLC. So that is stuff that you want to really talk to an accountant about. And then you need to not only live for the moment, you need to prepare for the future. The real estate business comes and goes. It has high highs and it has low lows. And you need to prepare and level out those so that you have money aside for the future. You know, look how it came to a screeching halt back in March, where we literally couldn't work, okay? And literally couldn't get out there and show houses. And let's face it, we all know what you do today is not going to give you a paycheck next Friday. Not like, you know, a regular job. You put in your hours, you know, on Friday you're going to get your paycheck. What you're doing today, hopefully, will generate some kind of activity that you will have a deal under contract in a reasonable amount of time, 4 to 6 weeks showing houses or whatever, and then 30 to 60 day closing. So what you're doing today could be 60 to 90 days out just before you see a financial benefit of that. Does anybody have any questions on any of these things? You all good?
Yep, good.
Okay. Money is good for the good it can do. We all know that. Money does you no good in your hands. It does it. The security it gives you, the things that you can do with it. That's what money is for. Money is not a status. And when it is, if you base your value on how much money, then we all know what usually happens in that mindset. Okay, especially in the real estate business, you can have high highs, you can have very high lows. So with that in mind, let's talk about being financially sound or unsound. And what we did here is we took, let me see. Okay, so we took Jessica, and we're using her as an example. And what Jessica did is what many agents do, and I thoroughly understand it because most people do not get a $9,000 paycheck. So when she sees $9,000 paycheck coming in, she has all kinds of plans. Okay, so out of that 9,000 though, we have to pay our expenses for the office at first. So being at Keller Williams, we have a 70-30 split, and I'm talking in generalities here. Everybody has their own different agreements and things like that, but I have to have a generality here. So she is on a 70-30 split, and then she also pays the 6% for the fee to Keller Williams itself, corporate. So out of that $9,000, she will see a check for $5,760. So she takes it, puts it in her personal bank account, figures it's in her wallet, and she spends it as she sees fit. She did not save anything for her business. She had no business savings put aside, and she had no tax savings put aside. So this is what a lot of agents do. They make $5,760. They spend $56. What was the $100 here difference? See that? I think this is a typo. So this should be, they transposed the numbers. So basically, she made it and she spent it. And a lot of them spend $57.69, $57.59. They spend, just about everything that they make. And what happens? She doesn't have a closing for 2 months. So the end of month 1, she's stressing on how she's going to pay her bills for month 2. Whereas if she planned properly and set up reasonable expectations, the same amount of dollars came in at $9,000. Her commission that she got was $57.60, but she put 30% away into her business bank account. And then she put the rest of it into her personal account. And out of her personal account, she paid taxes. So that left her a net of $24.19 to use for her personal bills, her spending money, things like that. So I'm not saying everybody is perfect and does it this way, because things happen and emergencies happen. But if the majority of the time you do this, then you will have money available for that rainy day or that unexpected occurrence. If the majority of time you do this, you will become that desperate agent. I got to get a deal together. I got to get a deal together. I'm going to go get a part-time job. And then you go take a part-time job so that you have some cash flow, but that part-time job now has taken you away from your business, and what you're seeing is the loss of that income. Everybody with me? So we're saying we all know which one was the better way to do it, right?
And I'm assuming, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Stephen.
In terms of the business expenses, I'm assuming the model is know what your annual is, and they're just like dividing it per month. Like, this is what I got to, pay myself. Or in your experience, did you always, like, if you had a big commission check, did you just go ahead and say, you know what, I've got it now. I'm just going to go ahead and pay off all what I know I'm going to owe from here now to the end of the fiscal year, so I don't have to worry about it? I mean, is it really just come down to your preference, how you want to handle your business?
It comes down to your preference on how you want to handle it.
Okay.
I find if I have it, it's better for me to keep as debt-free as possible, because then I'm not under the gun. So I typically pay as much as I can, as long as I have some kind of, liquid assets available further down the road. Because
no, that's good. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter how long you've been in the business. Sometimes you just, you have a good year and sometimes you don't. Last year, personally, Bob and I had a horrible year. He made less than 20% of what he usually makes because of all of his back surgery. So if I didn't have systems in place, imagine losing 80% of your income for a year. That's hard. That's real hard. Okay. So, and we're not out of the woods yet. He has another surgery scheduled next month. So it's really hard when you are a business owner and you are a commissioned business person. Because remember, we're a business owner from the team perspective, but Bob is the main rainmaker for our team. So as you know, since he's the strong listing agent, he carries typically anywhere from 15 to 25 listings when, you know, down in Delaware. And then when he can't do that, then that trickles down into our team members, because now we're not getting buyer leads in that we usually get and things like that. So if you're not getting leads in, then we've got to figure out a way to do that. So there's a lot of things and ways that you just have to bob and weave sometime. In a perfect world, this all works, but let's all face it, the world isn't perfect all the time. You know, you make your plans and you think things out and you do the best you can. And I think it's important, and I think this is such an important class that we at least get you thinking about this. Okay, some people are very lucky, you know, they come into the business, they have maybe some retirement funds, they have, you know, some other kind of income that's a second stream, that they're not totally dependent on it. That takes some of that stress off. So everybody has a different reason, but you know, when Bob and I came into this business, we had 4 kids under 8 years old. Okay, so living strictly commission was a real eye-opener. Okay, not necessarily as much to me, but Bob was the main breadwinner. So it just made us, you know, really have to know what we were doing and try to bob and weave and, you know, working our butts off just to make the calls and the lead gen and all that kind of stuff. And back then, you know, we didn't have all these systems. You know, like I said, you really had a phone and you had a phone book. And that was it. And you made it happen or you didn't. There was no safety net. So here's where the MREA model comes in. What they say is your GCI is the gross commission income, which is the total amount of commission earned from your sales. Then you have expenses. You have 2 different kinds of expenses. You have cost of sales, and then you have operating expenses. One of the big differences are the cost of sale. Those expenses are only an expense if and when you sell a property and you have earned commission, which would be what you pay to the market center, what you're paying to Keller Williams International. That's your cost of sale. So that only happens if and when you have a closing. But your operating expenses are always going on. Your board dues, your central lock fee, your room, if you have room rent at the office, your cell phone, your gas, your car expenses, your car insurance, your lunches, your advertising, your lead generation. All those things don't stop based on whether or not you have a deal or a closing. Can we see that? Can you guys see the difference in those 2 things? So that's why it's extremely important that you make sure that you have liquid assets available to continue with those operating expenses on the times when you do not have sufficient closings to offset those operating expenses, because they don't stop. And the hardest thing is when you sign up with somebody for, let's say, internet leads, and it's, you know, you had a great sale closings and it's middle of the high season, and somebody calls you and tries to sell you on leads, and you know, oh my God, if I could get more leads, I could close more and I could do this and I could do that. And you take on a debt of $500-600 a month, which doesn't sound like much because you get sold and you get caught up in that, oh, $500 a month. If I get 1 deal a year out of that, and that closing is 10,000, I'm still way ahead of the game. I'm still going to make 4,000 to the good. That's what buries a lot of agents, because that is based on the fact that you're going to have certain amount of deals. Okay, that's $600 a month rolls around each month, and people that have these kind of expenses, and like when COVID came, some of them like offset it a little bit, but they didn't wipe it out. They just put it on the back end as extended contracts and things like that. So when you sign up with these things, you got to remember you are making a commitment, and they will come after you for these balance of the contracts. Okay, Zillow, Realtor.com, Boomtown, all these things. This is a perfect time to talk about command and what the value is of command. I know when you look at it and we talk about cost of sales and it being 30% and Keller Williams takes X amount of dollars, but I really want you to understand the things that you get with Keller Williams that is part of that if and when you make money. Okay, so, and your operating expenses, and let's use $80 a month as your operating expenses that you would pay to Keller Williams, whether or not you have a closing. It's not a cost of sale, it's an operating expense. But for $80 a month, you have unlimited tech support with Scott Leroy. You have Record Factor that can work on your computer and give you tech support, even if it's an Outlook issue that you have, where your computer frees up and you can't figure out what to do with it. You have your command, okay, that you don't have to worry about paying for a CRM and then paying for DocuSign at $25 a month, and then paying for your Facebook ads are even discounted because of the amount of the agents and the contract that Keller Williams as a whole negotiated. So if you break down command, and even your you have all these templates in designs that all you have to do is go in, change a picture to make it what you like, put your information in, and post it on Facebook. Okay, people pay for that, to have that done for them. So those kind of things are extreme values that, and your E&O insurance, typically an agent pays $600 to $700 a year for E&O insurance. You're not paying that in your operating expense. It's not that much. I think it's $25 goes towards E&O, maybe even less than that. So I want you to see sometimes, because a lot of people get caught up in these numbers, and then they feel like they're having people take their commission away. But you also need to remember, once you get to a point of cap, if you do a certain amount, you're going to get to a cap where you're going to eliminate that full cost of sales. And that 30% goes right to your bottom line of profit and income. And to do that, I figured it out. We need, let's say, I figured that you have to close gross commission, not gross commission, gross volume, about 2.7 in volume sales price. So at a 250, let's say use 270 or 250, that would be 10 deals. So that averages out. That's not even a deal a month, okay? If your sales price is less, then yes, of course it goes up higher. But the whole thing that we're looking at here is that this model is changeable based on your savvy as a business person and your ability as a salesperson, as an agent that can truly be a real estate consultant with your people. And imagine adding that 30% to your bottom line. And then that stays for a year. Now remember, where does that 30% go? That 30% goes to the market center, so that the market center can provide our offices, so they can provide copiers, they can provide our staff. You get me? So all those things are paid for by the market center out of those commission, those cost of sales. You have trainers that come in. Think of these amazing trainers that we get that are countrywide famous trainers. They're not just somebody just coming in and talking like I am. These are people that get earned thousands of dollars to do a presentation that we get. Anybody have any questions on that?
I do, Carol.
Okay.
Just to reiterate, did you say you figured out that like 10 deals a year or 2.7 in volume?
But you
would
need to do
cover the
2.7 and 2.7 in volume will come, because if you take 2,750,000 in sales times 2.5%, that comes out to 68,750 times 30% would pay 20,625.
So that's meeting the cap.
Yep. So then that would meet your cap.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So if you use that as your barometer, and it sounds like a lot, and yes, in your first year it is, because you got to remember, you got to get yourself started, you got to get your inventory in, you have months of, and that's why I said to you that as much as COVID, eliminated us having being together, the fact that we had Zoom and we were able to run a full Ignite course and a brand new course at that, and you guys were engaged and you guys came to this every time there was a class, you created a strong foundation for your business. A lot of agents, they come in and they start running all over the place and they don't have a foundation built, but they're able to go out there and do open houses, and now they don't even know what to do with that client or how to even hold a good open house because they didn't have that structure. So with that being said, we've lost some time, but did we really? Because I think you are going to, quote, graduate from this, and you are going to be well prepared, in my mind, to be able to meet what you need to do at whatever level your business plan dictates you want to do. Okay? So, and remember, this cost of sales is 30%. That's to the market center. There's also the 6% that goes to Keller Williams International. So you're really not getting this 40 until that is capped too at 3,000.
How is the 6% calculated? Is it on your
6% is calculated on the gross sales price and the gross commission, I'm sorry.
the gross commission?
Yep. So
Okay.
if your commission came in, let me just give you the number. Write this stuff down and it'll probably make more sense. Let's say your gross commission is $6,000. So out of 6,000, 30% goes to the market center. So that would be 1,800, I'm sorry. So now you're down to 4,200. And then another 6% on that 6,000 would be $360.
Okay.
So the amount left to you would be the 4,200 minus the 360.
Thank you for
Carol,
clearing.
I'm not sure if you went over
It's
this. Those numbers are-
30%, Carol. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to, it was 21,000 to, based on your 30% to the market center, and then 3,000 for the franchise fee. Is that correct?
No, the 3,000 is not franchise fee. It's I forget what they actually called it. It goes to Keller Williams International. I think it goes towards their advertising fund and things like that. Keller Williams International takes that. So Keller Williams International gets 3,000 max from every Keller Williams agent.
Carol, so the 30% that gets taken off the 6,000 towards Keller Williams.
No, wait a minute. you just confused it. What?
I'm trying to verify here. So if it's 6,000 and 30% goes, towards Keller Williams, isn't the 6% come off of
It's 30%.
the remainder?
No, your 30% and your 6% is off the gross commission. So it's 30% of 6,000 and it's 6% of 6,000.
Okay.
Okay?
I thought it was 6% of the remainder of
No.
the gross of mine.
No, because
Okay.
then that would vary based on agents that have different splits and things like that are on a mega agent team and things. So that would vary. So no, Keller Williams
Okay.
International gets 6% off the gross commission up to $3,000.
Gotcha.
And then the Market Center gets 30% off the gross commission up to a maximum. And I'm not sure. I think Maryland is in a different market in a different region. I think theirs is 21, Stephen. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Maryland is 21 and Delaware is 20.
Carol, is the up to 3,000 an annual thing or a per deal thing?
It's up to, it renews on your anniversary date. So it's not a per deal thing. It's 6% per deal to a maximum of $3,000
Got it. Per year.
that rolls over on your anniversary date on an annual basis.
Okay.
Which is why it's always good to become a capper.
Yep.
All right. And we all signed all these contracts with all these numbers spelled out, but thank you for clearing it up.
No,
So
you're
I
in the boat. I mean, I read through it, but I had actually forgotten and said, this is good. I had it down. I have it in notes somewhere, but as you were going over this, Carol, I'm going, wait, so what was that? Then I just finally realized, I'm like, you know what? I just want to make it so that I pay Keller 24 every year, and then I get, I get half the
Exactly.
rest of my money.
Just put that in your head in your business plan. And that's why I said to you, when I saw the topic for this, I was like, oh my God, I went through this, last time with you guys in Spark, and it was, to me, a very boring class. Like, it was more about business planning and stuff. And then when I really delved into it, it was like, this is important stuff for you guys to know. Okay? So this is important because this is your money. And this is your money, and this is how you're going to plan your business plan. Now, some people are sitting here looking, and you start thinking about this, and, we're putting it out here, and you'll see other agencies that say 100% commission come in. You're brand new, 100% commission, you can have it. I can tell you they don't have coaching plans. They don't have the other support systems that we have. They don't supply you with command and all the bells and whistles that you get there. They don't have the training that is ongoing. And I can tell you, I don't care how long you're in the business, I firmly believe in training and always staying up to date. What you learned this year, I guarantee you there will be some changes and fine tuning for next year. Okay? So don't allow, and this is what happens. New agents come in and they do 3-4 deals, and all of a sudden their name is on, we call it a hit list, and brokers look at it and they look at agents that did 3 or 4 deals, and they turn around and they start recruiting. And
Happened to me last week.
Did it? See?
Got a call from Coldwell Banker.
Yep. And they start recruiting. Number one, they'll recruit and say, I know you've been with Keller Williams for so many months, and I don't know, how you're feeling about it and all, but, we have this, that, and the other thing. And if you come with us, what are you on? You're on a 70-30? Oh, well, come with us. We're going to give you 80-20, or we're going to give you 95-5 for the first year, or we'll give you a $2,000 sign-on bonus or a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That only goes as far as that particular time. Okay. And if you don't have the foundation, and I can tell you as an agent, when you make a move, it costs you. Okay. When we left, thank God, when we left Remax, we had negotiated our contract that we didn't lose anything, because all these listings and everything technically belongs to the broker. And based on your exit strategy that the broker has provided you with, you may not be able to take those listings with you. If you were on an 80% split and you have a deal under contract and you leave, you may not be able to take that. You may end up getting half of that 80%. So the grass is not always greener on the other side. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, I've been with independent offices. I've owned a RE/MAX office. I've owned a Century 21 office. And I can tell you that the offices have to maintain a level of income. And when they get you there, they get you there with the bait, but they don't always deliver what they say in the long run. And I can honestly say, after being with Keller Williams for 18 months, they have delivered beyond my expectations, because I am not easy to impress. Okay. The more you've been around something and the more you've been around a business and stuff like that, you get kind of hardened to it. And we came to Keller Williams after talking to some of our friends up in New Jersey and stuff. And I talked to them, and like, the culture of Keller Williams is one thing, but I think our market center is just amazing. We have such an amazing group in leadership in our market centers that they all impress me on a daily basis on how intent they are on the success of each and every agent. And I'm not saying that because I'm a company person. I'm saying that genuinely because I truly do believe it, and I see it and I live it every day. And I see it even more so because I'm in the background with it too. Okay, any questions? So they did a real simple here. So on a $10,000 commission, the cost of sales is 30, the operating expense is, 3, the operating expense 3, so net profit of 4. We did it a different way on the other one. So your flow of money, income goes in, expenses go out, profits what's left. And sometimes you can make more income go in, but sometimes you really don't have a lot of control over the income. You have control over your activities. You really don't have control over the results, except that if you're not getting the results you want, you have to work harder, smarter, or differently. Okay? And then you have the profit. So this is why we do our business plan, is so that we really have in our minds where we want to go. So what's your goal of your profit? How can you minimize your expenses to maximize your net income? And then for your income, how many homes do you have to sell to get to that profit? So the real decision point at this is, how many homes do I have to sell? You want to make X amount of dollars, then we have to take out the expenses. But we need to know the gross. So how many homes you have to sell to get to that number? Isn't that the magic question? So the income from your real estate business is from listing income, from sales income, from referral income, and from leasing income. Now, many people will tell you you should have some kind of another stream of income, whether it's you do property management, whether you buy rental properties, you have passive income from the rental properties, whatever it is. But we're talking right now only about your real estate business from the commission earned portion. So the cost of sales related to each transaction you make, the cost of making the sales, commission paid to your office, that's what it's called, royalty fees. Franchise fees, royalty fees, all the same. So this is the fees to your broker, which is often referred to as company dollar. And that's what's used to run the business and run each location. And like with this office, we have two companies, Maryland and Delaware, and we have multiple offices in both. So that's why it's important that each office pulls its own weight. So one office isn't overcompensating for another. And then you have the commissions are split, you pay to your employee or independent contractor. So if you use Tracy, our transaction coordinator, and let's say average is $300 to utilize her, that is a cost of sale. That is not an operating expense. Because if you didn't have the sale, you wouldn't have her expense. And then referral fees. If Mary Smith from Alaska called and said, my sister's moving down and wants to be at the Delaware beaches, I want to send you this referral. So you find her sister a house, then you pay her a referral fee. Again, unless you find the house and you go to closing, that would not be an expense. So these costs of sales, you want to make sure you would love to pay all them out every day of the week, because that means you're making money. You know, my dad said to me one time, after he got done with the tax accountant and stuff like that, and his numbers, he had a very large construction company, and he came home and he was complaining about the taxes, and you know, like everybody does at income tax time. And his accountant turned around and said, you should wish you were paying double the amount of taxes. That means that you're making money. And when he said that, I thought to myself, how true, how true. Yeah, we want to be smart and we want to mitigate our expenses and that we pay off, because that comes to the bottom line. But on our cost of sales, those things, you know, I've seen agents that try to get around paying a referral fee, like saying, oh, well, I worked with this buyer and they sent it to me like 6 months ago, but nothing ever happened. Now they came back to me. Do I really have to pay a referral fee to the agent? And my question to them is, what does the referral form say? But more importantly, what kind of relationship do you want to have with that agent in the future, and every agent within their market center that they talk to? And would you have had that transaction if that agent never initiated that referral to you? And usually by that time they say, okay, well, I'll pay it, no problem. Because you would not have it without that. I don't understand why agents do that. Actually, I do. They usually do it because they look at the number they have to give up and they probably need a check that month and they are running short, and they're looking at that as, you know, where can I cut to keep more money for me? But you shouldn't bite the hand that feeds you, right? Okay. Now we're going to digging into the cost of the sale. So and I think you have this on your page. Let's see. So if you have not capped on your company dollar or royalty, what is the net commission check you will see after you check, you will receive after COS, cost of sale? So the formula is here. Okay. What page is that? I think that's a page on your.
Page 9, I think.
Yeah, that's what I
Page
think it is.
10 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're at page 9, I'm looking at my PowerPoint, my guide, and your guide. Okay. So your GCI minus your company dollar minus the royalty will equal your net commission. So let's do this to make it easy for yourself. So let's say, for easy numbers that I can do in my head, your GCI is 10,000 minus your company dollar. How do we get company dollar? That's the 30% of the GCI, which would be $3,000. minus the royalty, which would be 6% of the $10,000 or $600, would equal your net. And this is all, when you're doing commissions in command, this is why I want you to understand how the numbers should be. Because once you plug something in, it auto-populates a lot of stuff. But sometimes if you plug it in incorrectly, the numbers don't, you know, it's whatever you put into it is only that it's going to calculate based on that. I'm still a paper, pencil, and a 10-key calculator. So I figure out my numbers, and when I do that commission sheet, I know what the number is going to be before I get to the bottom. So I fill it all in, and when I get to the bottom, that number better match what my tape says. And if it doesn't, I go back and I see why. And usually it's just where I put something or I didn't put something. Okay? Any questions? Did you follow this? Good? Okay. So now you've already capped on royalty. So what did we end up with the number here? What was this number?
6,400.
Okay. So now, if you've already capped on royalty, but not on company dollar, what is the net commission? So here we have GCI. That's wrong. This whole formula is wrong because they're saying that you capped on royalty. So it wouldn't be 6%. You've not yet capped on company dollar. So here we should be paying company dollar, not royalty. I think they better have somebody proofread these things.
Yeah.
Okay, so your formula actually is GCI minus company dollar. So it's GCI 10,000 minus the 3,000. I'm sorry, 30% of 10 is 3,000. So that would give you your $7,000 there. So do you see how your GCI, how your net increased because you capped on royalty? Right? If you capped on both, what would your net commission be?
10 grand.
That's right. So how many cappers are we going to have within 12 to 15 months here? Right? We're going to cap. And I'll be with you on that journey. Okay? As long as you want me to. So building your future activity. Okay. So this is how to plan for your future with profit. This is like your numbers, how you're going to work it to figure out what you want on your business plan. I have a very simple form that I use, but I want you to get used to using the Keller Williams one. But when we sit down, I'll use the simple one to show you. Okay, so your net profit goal is 100,000. So that means after cost of sale and operating budget, you want to put $100,000 in your pocket. So what do we have to do? We have to figure out 40% or 60% of that net profit to get to where we should go, and then divide it again to say the GCI should be 416,666 in order for you to get your 100,000 and meet these other expenses. So then we divide this number by the average commission, which they're using 75,000. So you would have to sell 56 homes in this scenario in a 12-month period. And the anticipated cost of sale, they put in 23,000, which in Delaware would be your 20,000 for the market center, and then your 3,000 for royalty. Okay, so then, hold on. So then your operating expenses, they had a 30%. So you would be spending, these numbers don't add up either. Thought this was crazy. Based on this, they have you set your operating expense at 30% is 124. I don't know, the numbers come out that way. So out of this, you would be spending 23,000. See what I'm saying? You're spending 23,000 for cost of sale and 124.9, let's say 125, you're at 148. How can 148 and you to make 100 would put you to 248? Why would we need to get to 416? That doesn't make sense. See what I'm saying? They're really bad on this. So to me, it seems to me that it should be your gross commission plus your expenses, your net goal of 100,000 plus the 23,000 expenses plus the 124,999. That tells me that you have to be at 247,999 divided by 7,500 as your average commission. That's 33 units. That's more realistic to me. That number works. You want me to give you those? Are these numbers written in your book at all? Okay, go to your page 10. It has it there, but I don't see how their numbers work. Because dividing the gross comp, it just doesn't jive to me. Is there somebody that can see it differently than I am? You sold, if you grossed $416,666 and you paid the market center and you paid Keller Williams their royalty fee and your operating expenses, that's your 124.9. That's your cost of sales in there and your operating expenses are in there and then your net profit. So I just think their numbers are wrong. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anything about what we went over? Okay. So my main purpose with this class today is to get you thinking about the numbers, get you thinking about your business planning, and then I want you to, you all have my Calendly link so that you can go on and schedule a half hour with me. And when you do, I'll go in and I'll override it and make it an hour so that we can actually sit down and do your business planning and be sure that we have it totally where you want it to be. So I want you to start thinking about that, and once you have it, let me, and then go in and schedule your appointment with me. And because I know we do our half hour one-on-ones monthly, but I want to do, this is over and above that for you. I want to make sure you have a clear vision of where you're going and a map of where you're going to take it. So some of the things I would use is this checklist, is making sure that what your big why is, of why you're doing this and what you expect from it, you can verbalize that to me. Okay? Because I can't help you reach your goals if I don't really understand what they are, and they're not always monetary. You're going to set your personal and business budget. It's not that I want to get into your business, but you at least need to have a number of what you need from a personal standpoint to do what you need to do from a business standpoint so that we can pull this whole thing together for you. You need to talk to your accountant and decide how you're going to set your business entity up. Sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, whichever way you're going to do it. Does everybody know the difference in them? Anybody have any questions?
Explain to me what the S Corp is. The LLC, I know, but the S Corp, what is
The
that?
S Corp, it's just a kind of corporation. So it depends, on your accountant. LLCs, your team members. You're actually team members in an LLC. You're members of the LLC. And you don't necessarily have a secretary and things like that, which corporation does. The sole proprietor, when you file your taxes, you file on your personal tax return as Schedule C. Once you set up an LLC or S Corp, you then have to file separate taxes for those two. So you'll be filing personal taxes and business taxes. But you will also, by having an LLC or an S Corp, create a corporate veil, if you would, that protects you a little bit more from your personal, in case there's any issues if you ever get sued and they try to attack you personal in the business, from the business activities. I'm not an attorney, I'm not an accountant. I'm just giving you my layperson's understanding of it from my experience. Talk to your accountant and your attorney, okay? On what works best for you and what you need to protect and what you're trying to get to. I strongly do advise that you open couple bank accounts. One is your business. You should have a business checking account. I don't care, according to the bank, it's a business account, but you should have a separate checking account that you run all your business expenses through. It's much easier at the end of the year that you don't have to run through your personal account and see what is business and what is not business. It's easier when you have a debit card for that account and you run, and buy donuts for a broker's luncheon or whatever you have to do, that you use that as opposed, and you have all your expenses in one place. The tax account is a savings account that I use, that I just put money, out of each check and into that savings, so that at the end of each quarter, I make my tax deposits. And then your MREA chart of accounts, that would help with their setting up your accounting work and things like that. QuickBooks is a great way, depending on your accountant. Like, it depends on how much you want to be involved in the bookkeeping versus your accountant do it, things like that. Some accountants do it very reasonably, and because you just take care of it in QuickBooks and then they reconcile it at the end of the month. And purchase and download tax accounting software was QuickBooks, what we just talked about. Hiring an accountant, CPA. Set dates to calculate and pay your estimated taxes. You can deposit them at any time, actually. If you find that you're the kind of person, if I put it in a savings account, I might tap that if I need it. You could just make that deposit each time you have a settlement. And it's very easy. You go online and just do it with the IRS. And then prepare for your future insurance, savings, investments. Any questions? Okay. We're breezing through this pretty quick. Is it a dry material, or you don't have any questions, or you want to get out of here earlier? What is it?
It's pretty familiar to me, so
Yeah.
coming from that
Yeah.
world.
And a lot of you, everybody knows this stuff, so it's just going through it. And that's why I figured we would just go through it. I know it's important for those that have never thought about it, never had a business, but people that have had businesses, you've lived this life already. So let's talk about aha moments today. Anything, anybody say, okay, well, now I understand that a little bit better. Did you all know how your commission was actually calculated?
I didn't. This really put it out there better, I thought.
Okay.
And you can't help but when you think, oh, my neighbor's going to be selling their house. If if we price it at X, then that means Y is going to go in my pocket. You can't help but think that way. And I
Right.
wasn't sure how to get to the end number. So thank you for, that's
Yeah.
a quick equation, which I'm going to.
Cool. And here's the other thing. This will help you when you talk to a seller and the seller says to you, well, you guys are making an awful lot of money. Are you going to put something in, towards this? You could pay, drop it $1,000, drop it 1%, do this, do that. This is when you as an agent have to decide as a business person, how much are you willing to get? How much can you financially afford to give away to buy that business? Because effectively, that's what you're doing, is trying to buy that business.
So we're not at that, I'm not at that point right now, but say you are, and you're willing to come down a little bit on your commission. That comes strictly out of you, right? Not anything that goes to.
Well, no, it comes out of everybody. It comes out if you were trying to get a 6% and the seller talks you down to 5%. So now you just lowered your commission by 0.5%. So your GCI is going to be 0.5% lower than it was. So the market center gets less, you get less. Your profit number goes down.
Is there a protocol or do you need to get permission to do that?
Not to go to 5. As an agent, the market center likes anything below 5, you would need to talk to Walt.
Okay.
And be able to justify that. Here's my argument on that is, don't you believe that you're worth 6%? And here's the thing, a lot of agents down here, they typically go, this conversation, you got to be careful with the fair trade and things like that. You can't talk about commissions and fixing commissions or anything like that. So you as a business owner have to decide what you want. But you need to decide that based on what you're going to provide. If you have this cost of sale and you have this cost of expenses for pictures and drone pictures and open houses and, your time and things like that, and you factor that all in, you need to decide, because remember, half of that commission is going to go to the selling side. You need to decide what you feel you as an agent are willing to accept.
I thought it was interesting the other day that the gentleman, I think he started at 5 and then he lowered it if he brought the buyer
Yes.
to that.
Yes.
So I thought that was and the only thing that I keep thinking in the back of my mind is not everything is a secret in the world. And if you start lowering it to 5, they bring a friend in, they expect
Exactly,
5%.
Joy. Exactly. So. And that's why you have to set I do not, here's my thinking. I don't pay less if I bring the buyer. I don't charge less if I bring the buyer, because I'm still doing both sides. I still have to represent and deal with the buyer and the buyer side, and I still have to deal and represent the seller and the seller side. So my expenses haven't gone down because I'm bringing both. I still have to do both sides. One of the things you're saying is exactly the problem. That means every time if that person gives you a referral, you know they're going to talk. Let's even take it out of that. Let's take it if you're farming in an area and you take a 6% commission with this person. And then Joe Smith calls and they have a really great home and you want to get that listing and stuff like that, but he's a real hard nose and he really negotiates you to 5%. Do you want that? Now you're farming the area and you want to do multiple transactions in that area. Do you want that to get out? And what about the first seller that listed with you and gave you your chance to get in there? And what happens when they call you and say, well, I was up at the clubhouse and I was talking to Mary and she said, that her husband really beat you down and now it's only 5%. What are you going to do with mine? Why am I paying 6 and he's paying 5? What are you going to say? And what does that do for your future credibility in the market? So that's why I think it's important that as an agent, you need to decide your value. It is not set in stone by anybody else. It's your value, your business, and you can decide to take a listing on those terms or not take a listing on those terms. And also, a lot of times when I, take a listing is sometimes if I have to help because let's say it's an elderly couple and they're very tight on their numbers and things like that, and some repairs came up and some scraped painting has to be taken care of, and for the appraiser, and I can send a painter over there to do something for $300. If I have the commission that I expect, I can do that. And what does that make me look like? That makes me look like the savior, right? Because I have that wiggle room. But if I already cut it down to bare bones, then, I don't have to do that. And then the seller's worried about paying $350 to get a painting done. You got to bob and weave. And, you got to decide your business and you got to decide your marketplace. Paul's dealing with a lot of people that are coming from DC and stuff like that, savvy people that negotiate contracts all the time, things like that. He's 5 years in the area. He needs to break into an area and develop his credibility. That's hard. It's very hard. So what are you going to do? It's like when Bob and I came down from New Jersey. I really expected it to take us longer to be able to transition our business from New Jersey to Delaware. But we came down to Delaware. We use our same business model that we used in New Jersey. And we started getting listings. But agents ask us all the time, I can't believe you get 6% listings. Not many people down here take 6%. They always take 5%. I said, my business model. So you have to know, go back to your value proposition that I wanted you guys to always think of what your value is. And that is what you build on your presentation, and you show them why you would be such a value and why you earn that. Not a gift, you've earned that. And you use your Keller Williams as your background to add your credibility, because that is an expense, and you joined Keller Williams, and that's why you are willing to pay your cost of sale and money to them. Use that to your advantage when you're on a listing presentation. Use that Keller Williams has sold the most residential in the past quarter, or whatever the numbers are for that particular quarter. Utilize that to your benefit. Anybody else? That's why, like Op City, I think Op City is a great opportunity to gain knowledge and experience. But I can guarantee you guys, most of you will not deal with Op City after you get a few under your belt, because you're going to get more experience. You're going to maybe get a listing or two, and you're going to say, you know what? Or you'll keep it just as an overflow in case you need it, but you're going to be more choosy than taking and jumping on everything. Anybody else? It's been a quiet morning, guys. Is it because it's Monday?
I didn't get my second round of coffee, so I can only speak for me.
Okay. I'm gonna just give me just 10 more minutes and then I'm gonna let you go because I gotta jump on another call anyway. So we're good. So we're gonna go back to your goals, 10 contacts a day, 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes, 10 previews. We're getting out and about. I can tell you our team had 3 of my people sat open houses and they had, between the 2, I think there were 7 people through, working with 2 of them now. So it was good. I am thinking, I'm trying to think of what we should do for our class on this Friday coming. Because I'm thinking of a couple things. One would be how to hold a successful open house, really break it down, all the things you do from Monday through Friday before the open house. That would be one thing. I'm thinking of maybe seeing if I can get a home inspector. I don't know if I can, but have a home inspector come out and talk to you guys, just what they do and how we negotiate home inspections and things like that. We could talk about the home inspector. I want to get you doing the things and having classes now that are going to be teaching you what you're really doing out in the marketplace as to a lot of the theory that we've talked to and about in Ignite.
Carol,
Yes.
at our Wednesday class last week, what's his name was teaching? I forgot. Russ, yeah. We were talking about lenders and maybe getting educated on the types of and I'm not saying for this Friday, but to have someone explain USDA, the things that I mean, we're not lenders, but it's nice to know a little bit more about what is needed.
I am working with a couple of lenders right now to get it scheduled.
Awesome.
My thoughts are to have it in the office.
Yeah.
One in Delaware, and I'm even thinking of doing one in Salisbury. I think Salisbury. Stephen, is Salisbury's office bigger, the conference room bigger? Do you know?
I've not actually even been in Salisbury's
Me
office.
neither.
Because I mean, in Ocean's.
Not very big.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not?
No.
Okay, because I'm trying to think of if people from Maryland would come into Delaware, like I would do it in the Bethany office, because we have the big training room.
right.
There's also a couple of rooms behind it, so we would be able to expand out into that hallway to keep our 6-foot distance and stuff. But I want to start doing these back in the classroom, only because I think we get a different hands-on when people are doing their hands out and people are right there. I'm still going to Zoom the meetings, but I'm thinking just from the position of what works best to get the most people in. So I'm talking to a lender. I want to do some things about the first-time home buyers money. Maryland and Delaware have different because they are state bond money. But I think especially newer agents, that's the price range you're dealing with, is a lot of people like that. You're dealing with people that think they may have to rent and they don't. You could switch them into a buyer with program. We have, Siri has a buyer that's going to be going to closing hopefully by the end of the week. She's getting a grant, I think of 4%. Siri, are you on the phone? Are you here?
Yeah, I know I am here. Yeah, it's 3.5. My numbers
so it's between 3 and 4. They are getting money from the state. Now, some states it's a grant. Some states it's a grant if you're there a certain amount of time. So I don't know what all the details are of this. So that's something that I want to have a speaker on. So maybe we could do like a USDA and a first-time home buyers. I could give them that homework, and that's what I would want them to speak about. And then I'm thinking if we did it in the 2 locations. So if I can get somebody on for this week, does that sound good? Okay,
Yes.
all right. I'll work on that and see what I can get done for this week. And then if anybody has any other suggestions, shoot me an email with some suggestions that you would like to hear somebody talk. I'm thinking a home inspector. I'm thinking home, so that they can go through and tell you what a home inspection is. But I also want to teach you how to negotiate a home inspection. What is major issues and what is minor issues, and look at the contract and read the verbiage in that contract to see what is made. It's only for major issues, environmental, mechanical, and structural. It is not because the roof is 15 years old and reaching the end of its life expectancy. The house was 15 years old when you looked at it. Nobody said it was a new roof. It's not time to think you're going to get a new roof on this house. And that's the kind of stuff that I want you to be able to read a home inspection and educate your buyers, setting the expectation first before they even meet with that home inspection. Because there's different reasons. A home inspector looks for one thing, an appraiser looks for something else, as a buyer looks for something else. Okay? Anything
Russ
else?
did a really good job Russ did a really good job last week talking about negotiating for the home inspection and all of that, big issues, little issues. He did really well.
Who is that, Terry? Who's talking to me?
It's Terry, also known
Yep,
as
sorry,
AKA
it says
Michael's
Michael's
iPad.
Says Michael's lap. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Okay. You're always trying to keep me on my toes, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I am.
that's-
I am. No, I'm afraid. I was hoping to call back from my computer. My computer died, and everyone told me, Apple and everyone said, oh, that's not possible that this happened, but it did. So I'm just waiting for them to give me a call to go get it.
all right. Well, look, I'm done unless you guys need something else from me. We could belabor this for another hour, but I don't think I can give you much more than what I've given you. So
It was good, Carol. Very good.
Yeah, I'm good.
you're good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, look, this means that you can go do an extra hour of lead gen, right?
Absolutely.
Promise?
No, yeah, I've got a list I got to work through. So
Awesome.
Me too.
Okay. So go do your lead gen, and because we actually could keep you on here, make you do it on the thing, but I don't need to do that. I trust you all to be honest with me, as I am honest with you. So have a great one. I'll see you on Wednesday, and I will work on seeing what lender I can get around for Friday.
Awesome.
sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take
All
care.
right.
Okay.
Take
Take care,
care.
Carol.
Have a good one.
Bye now.